Oh, yes, it is. Anthony Rivera, the Subway to Shea podcast. Keith Diaz kicking in with Keith, host of
Yo.
Shea and Sons. It's a Subway to Shea and Sons collaboration. It's the final episode, man, of WBC TV for now. But what a tournament we've just witnessed, and the Venezuelan team takes the title, takes the championship in what was a very good game. I mean, I think from top to bottom, this may have been the best overall tournament that the WBC has produced to build off of what happened in 2023 with the epic final between Japan and the United States. I think this one just topped it up a notch there. And yeah, I want to know your thoughts, Keith. Also, hey, man, what's going on? How are you, man?
How are you, man? I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm kind of more bittersweet that it's coming to an end. I actually enjoyed doing this with you. Like we kind of had some fun just discovering things. Like,
Yeah.
that was kind of the best part about doing this project with you. And it was like a cherry on top to get good baseball, but to connect with a few people from different parts of the world was really awesome, and to learn about so many cool baseball nuances that we're not familiar with here. It was really, really nice. So I really, really enjoyed it. Next WBC, hopefully we're there. We're chilling, maybe
Yeah.
doing a show there. But it was really fun. I had a great time. But it's over, and now 6 months of depression. So
Oh my goodness. So yeah, the New York Mets content that we produce will be coming back. I will be back next Wednesday with a Subway to Shea preview of the season. Took a couple weeks off to really dive into the WBC because it was just a lot of fun. I mean, and honestly, let's be honest, there really hasn't been much happening with the New York Mets, which is a good thing.
yep. Yeah, it's actually surreal, quite honest. We usually have some sort of drama going on, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of a normal camp, which I'm actually really happy for.
Yeah, I'll take that every day of the week, and obviously opening day. It's so nice to go from this type of playoff atmosphere. You get a week off, and you go straight into opening day and the long season ahead. But we're recapping here, and first and foremost, I had put on a tweet that the WBC is returning in 2029, and I'm totally wrong. They're going back to the 4-year format that they originally started, and it will be returning in 2030. So I don't know if they're going to try to make it 2029, but we'll see. Because of the Olympics, it might change things. But let's recap this WBC final. Venezuela takes care of business against the United States 3-2 in what was a fantastic game. Our guy on the mound, Nolan McLean, I thought he pitched, pretty good for I guess, the matchup that was given to him. And for the lack of scoring that was behind him. I know you kind of felt a little bit different in our chat about Nolan McLean. So, explain what you were concerned about when he was on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I'm a little bit of a sicko. I view things probably a little bit different, probably to my own detriment, to be fair. Bottom line numbers, I thought he did well. If I just look at the bottom line numbers, he did well. He did what he could. He is a young pitcher, so I do have to remember this. I have to like visually understand that this is a pitcher that still needs to grow in the game. Like it's also something that like I've kind of hoped and prayed that some Met fans can take heed with their hype towards this young man. He's a very talented young man. So I am excited for the young man's potential. But for me, like my biggest thing with pitchers, and I'm really, really hard on pitchers because just a real quick backstory, like my best friend growing up was a pitcher, and he used to teach me some of the little nuances that a pitcher looks for, right? And I thought for the most part he was composed, even when he got into a little bit of a jam or two. So I do credit him that. I just need a clean inning. He didn't have one clean inning, and I just feel like those are really big boosts for not just him, for the defense, the bullpen, the manager, to give more confidence. Clean innings are like, a lot of people tend to look at the box score. Oh, he got 7 strikeouts. Ooh, only 1 walk, 1 hit. But he got a few clean innings, right? If a guy can
Mm-hmm.
get you clean innings, that means the game is going quick. That means he's in a groove. That means the catcher is controlling everything. That means a lot of guys are just waiting for their next at bat because there's no balls being hit to them, or even if they're being hit to them, they're manageable. So it's a very good way to be bored, right? So I felt like I feel like that's coming for Nolan. Yesterday, obviously, to expect that from him, which is what I did, was probably one of my bigger mistakes. And I didn't. I would have took one because I usually when you get a clean inning for a pitcher, you can kind of see like where they're really finding their stride, right?
Yeah.
And he did it, and he struggled. And again, I have to remember that this is against pretty much an all-star lineup, respectfully, right? Like at this stage, you're playing against all-star level caliber players, right? Regardless what country. So to do that at his age, with the lack of experience, I do have to tip my cap to him. I kind of was looking at it too much with my Met glasses, and that was probably to my own detriment. But he did all right. He did all right. Better, and I expect better eventually. And I'd rather it be better in August rather than now, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, you want this in August, you want it in September, you want it in October, right? He's only had, I think it's 10 starts. Like off the top of my head, I can't tell you, but 10 or less starts he's had in the major leagues. And to come into this tournament, pitch two really important games, right? Because the United States still needed to clinch their game in pool play. Like
Yeah.
despite Mark DeRosa not knowing the rules, they still had to clinch that game, and they won that game. He wasn't great. He wasn't great, and wait, they didn't win that game. I'm sorry,
No,
they lost that game
that
to
was the
Italy.
Italy
That
game.
was the Italy game. So
Hmm.
their fate was not in their hands. So he
No,
struggled in that game. USA kind of started him out a little bit of a comeback, and the run differential helped him out.
correct.
Then this game comes up, and only giving up the 2 runs, 2 earned runs. He gives up the homer to Wilyer Abreu, and pitches 4 2/3 and strikes out 4, walks 1. And like you said, you want to see clean innings, right, from these guys. A little tough against a very very deep Venezuelan lineup, and I want to say deep lightly because that's not the deepest it could get. It doesn't even have Jose Altuve in the lineup. A lot of those guys are that should have been on Venezuela. Pablo Lopez injured. You talk about Jose Alvarado. He was injured and couldn't pitch. So Venezuela wasn't even at 100%, and he did pretty good outside of the 2 runs. It was a sacrifice fly to the eventual MVP of the tournament, Michael Garcia, and
Mhm.
then the Wilyer Abreu home run, and then he was done with the game. Now, if we look at the pitching on the other side, a guy who I was interested in free agency, which I know he hasn't pitched great since then, but he
Mhm.
was a solid pitcher for Boston, pretty good for Detroit, and I think he's now in
Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah, Eduardo Rodriguez, 4 1/3 innings pitched, 1 hit against this United States lineup. One. You would have thought, especially with a star-studded lineup like they had, they would have been able to do a whole lot more, and they could just not muster hit. This team had 2 hits the entire
Mhm.
game. I'm talking about
Yeah.
Team USA.
I think that was the story of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously towards the end of the game, we'll get into like, pointing the fingers and having a little bit of fun with things. But truthfully, we did see earlier in this tournament, this lineup, regardless of who was in it and who wasn't, struggle against Michael Lorenzen. And now we saw it for the
Yeah.
second time against a pitcher who we all expect this team to kind of do very well against. And that was Eduardo Rodriguez. And I think we all made a mistake. I think myself, maybe you, and I think I don't want to speak for many others, but I do think we have to acknowledge the fact that maybe just maybe this time of year, we've had this conversation about 3 times, isn't the best time for this tournament, and it seems like it in the beginning stages, right? Kind of like, all right, these guys are getting into the flow of things. It's spring training. It all kind of makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
But then when you start seeing like the caliber of player, like being able to handle another caliber of player that is nowhere near them on the same level, and we know this is like proven, you start wondering maybe it's the time of year. I'm not making excuses for anyone. I'm not. But I genuinely think that a lot of these players would be in a lot better baseball like rhythm, like later in the year. like sometime July, August, whatever, versus now. And I just think that, I'm trying my best to not, cover up for anyone, but a guy like Eduardo Rodriguez, a guy like Michael Lorenzen can probably fare pretty well against a lineup that's still trying to get their feet under them, right? And
Yeah.
regardless of the talent and the amount of it, a pitcher can have his day. It is baseball, right? At the end of the day, anything can happen in 9 innings. You'd be surprised. Some of the best teams in baseball genuinely don't win, right? Or don't get close unless, you're kind of overpowered, like Dodgers, Yankees, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess what I'm trying to say is shout out to Eduardo Rodriguez for seizing the opportunity of a lineup that, with all due respect, I thought was a tad bit arrogant, a tad bit I think they were very complacent. I think they thought that their moment would come regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it kind of burned them, truthfully.
Yeah, this on paper is the best United States team that was put together, even more so than the 2017 team that won it all. So yeah, I like you said, I think they got complacent. I think that they took a lot for granted from this tournament, and they didn't. I don't think they expected all these other teams to play as hard for something that a lot of people consider to be an exhibition. And not only on the field, but you saw Mark DeRosa not knowing the rules of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Bryce Harper and his comments about the Olympics being more important. To the fact where, and I kind of feel like when Aaron Judge came out and said this is bigger than the World Series, I kind of felt like that was damage control.
Yeah, that's
I don't know how
very
true
good
that
point.
is. Maybe he does feel that way, but I kind of feel like that was somewhat of damage control. Here is your best, when your top two players in all of baseball, one of your most marketable players in Major League Baseball, and he makes that comment. Even Yankee fans were like, "Come on, man! Like, what are we doing here?" Derek Jeter even said that the World Series is more important than the WBC, and to each his own, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the countries, it's more. This WBC is more important to people who play mostly Major League Baseball. Obviously, the World Series is important, and it's actually equally as hard to make it to the championship for both of these tournaments, since this one comes once every 3 to 4 years, and it's a single elimination. Once you get to the quarterfinals, there's no series. You don't get to make up a game if you lose one. You're out. Run differentials count. The World Series, obviously, there's long seasons and that, but I think USA kind of came in here a little bit too cocky, a little nonchalant, not really caring about what was going on here. And it bit them in the end. Yeah, obviously, yes, they did make it to the finals, which people can talk about how screwy that was with the final strike of the game.
And even the bracket, the way the bracket
was set to kind of have Japan and USA face off in the finals, and then both teams are not winners here. So there's a lot to go off of. The United States did have that one push there in the bottom of the 8th inning when Bryce Harper hit the 2-run home run after Bobby Witt Jr. walked, and that kind of livened things up. But then in the 9th inning, you couldn't really go to Mason Miller, who pitched 2 games back to back. They didn't really want to go to him, so they went to Garrett Whitlock, who I also think pitched multiple games. And that ended up biting them in the butt. And they end up losing 3-2 after Eugenio Suarez hits that game-winning double. You go to the bottom of the 9th, and it was just 1, 2, 3 quick work of I think it was Schwarber, Bregman, not Schwarber, Henderson, and Roman Anthony. So, it was a solid game, solid pitched game, a solid all around, and Venezuela ends up with the championship here.
Yeah, for me, I heard a lot of criticism for DeRosa with the Mason Miller stuff. I'm actually going to defend DeRosa with that right there. I think that's a little bit unfair. I mean, you can't just continuously rely on one reliever when he has a domestic club that he needs to play for. I think Mark DeRosa has to respect the wishes of the club. So I think that's very unfair. And Mason Miller did his job. To ask for anything more is a little bit ridiculous because this team was good enough that they don't need Mason Miller to always save them. And same goes for David Bednar, who didn't pitch, but he was probably the second best reliever, and he was out of there. But they had enough. They had really good talent at bullpen. I love the point you made about the damage control when it comes to Aaron Judge. I think you're spot on. I think that's a bullseye hit right there because personally, I think I from afar, from Queens, right? We can sit here and say we pay attention to Judge, we watch baseball, whatever, but there were so many comments that I saw on the timeline. Oh, now you know what it feels like to be a Yankee fan, or all this stuff. But I've been keeping my eye on Aaron Judge, and I just feel like there is like a psychological factor there.
Mm-hmm.
When we watch sports, you're a hockey fan. I'm a soccer fan. I'm a basketball fan. Whatever, NFL. We know when a great player is locked in. We know when a great player is in control. Like like nothing is really making that great player uncomfortable. Have felt for some time now. Everything is very forced with Aaron Judge. Everything feels a little, I hate to use this word, but it just feels like phony. And it just he doesn't give, and I know he is a sensational player. There's no doubt in my mind he's the best hitter in baseball. You could argue maybe he's the best player. I mean, I'm here for it. I'm actually a big fan of the guy.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, and I kind of understand what some Yankee fans were saying, because I felt now the jersey stuff, the hockey jersey stuff. Honestly, that was also a little cringe for me. Like that they didn't to rep. Look, I'm not a hockey fan, and I would love for you to touch on this, but I saw the Olympics. I watched the Winter Olympics, and I saw heroism. I saw bravery. I saw true dedication to what they were participating in, which was the Olympics. And you got a guy here talking about the WBC is not all that compared to the Olympics. And then 10 minutes later, you're bringing in the jerseys from the Olympics of the hockey team to instill some sort of motivational pride. I can speak on my behalf and saying, if I'm an American, which I am, and I believe you are as well, I don't need that to motivate myself. I just need to put on that jersey that says United States of America and go play the game that we are meant to win, right? And I just felt like, again, forced, right? Again, phony. Like, that's just something that I don't feel Aaron Judge, like the real human being beneath the baseball player, probably wanted,
Yeah.
and it screams. Obviously, he didn't make the call for that. But I guess where I'm trying to land my plane is that like nothing felt authentic about this team, and it starts and ends with Aaron Judge.
Yeah, he's the captain, right? I mean,
Correct.
they named him the captain of the team, and look, we see what happens around culture in baseball, around Japan,
Correct.
Korea. You throw Chinese Taipei. You could throw Australia in there now, and Italy now. And yes, most of those guys are American. I know. But they may be building something here, and it may go
Absolutely.
all the way back to Italy, where they're
Absolutely.
being in the same spot as Australia is in right now. So the building blocks are being made. You talk about all the Caribbean teams and the dancing and the having fun and all that stuff. Then you look at USA, and they're very professional. They're very strict to the fact where, to pump them up, they needed someone from the military to come in on top of it. I don't hate it. But like, you're forcing this to pump these guys up. The hockey jerseys, like you said, this is a literal all-star team that we're looking at. Like, you shouldn't need that stuff. You guys should be, even when they posted, I think it was Aaron Judge's speech at the beginning of the tournament. It was like, even like his own like fan base was like, "Yo, man, like, come on, this is not it right here." So
It was like it felt like you were in like class, right?
yeah,
I didn't feel like you were on a baseball team. But yeah, I'm sorry.
no, it's a baseball game. You're supposed to be having fun, enjoy yourself, and if they wanna be serious, that's okay. Like, I'm not gonna hate them doing what they want to do, and Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Japan, all those guys doing what they're going to do. As long as everyone respects each other, just like this tournament had turned out, all well and good. But the PR surrounding the United States was not good
No,
at all
no.
for this tournament. And it feels like they don't want to be a part of the tournament for some reason. And it's a tournament that MLB is pushing. It's a tournament that, top guys like Otani, Judge, Witt, Soto, those are the guys that you need to lead and to say the right things, not forced to say the right things. But when Juan Soto says this is important to him, you believe it, right? When Otani says that, you believe it because you see how hard they work on the field. And not to say, Aaron Judge doesn't, but after
Mhm.
everything that transpired in that 72-hour span, starting with what Mark DeRosa said all the way through Bryce Harper, you're like, are they like, is this authentic coming from Aaron Judge, or is this more of something that's like, we need you to go out and say something? Like, I don't care what it is, just say something right, and let's move on here. Like, tell everyone you love the WBC and move on.
Yeah, I also think I don't want to fully make it about Judge. I'm almost in a weird place with Aaron Judge where I kind of feel for him in a weird way because maybe this is something that he truly isn't built for, but he may think he is.
Yeah.
And it's probably because the PR, maybe Major League Baseball, it could be a whole bunch of things, right? I think he is perfectly suited for the role that we know best, where general on the field, right? You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And not rah rah locker room. And I think this tournament is actually built for rah rah locker room, like Major League Baseball. From April to September, you kind of need like waves of maybe on the field general, locker room general, maybe kind
Yeah,
of
because it's so
when
long.
yeah, with the way the season goes, it's a flurry of things, right? You kind of take your ups and your downs. It's a nice little wave. In a span of week, maybe 10 days, you kind of need the rah rah, and you kind of needed the American team came across like they didn't care, but I would have wished they would have came across as very arrogant with confidence and bravado. I didn't get
Like,
that.
double
I got
down on it, right? Like,
yeah, like you know what? Be
yeah.
cocky, be arrogant, like wave the flag, put it in your face. But it was more of a like we're above this, very snazzy, and it
Hmm.
just. I think that they, especially the team, they need a guy in that locker room who truthfully kind of comes across like a piece of shit. I really have to say that. And they need a guy who's an asshole. They genuinely need that guy. They need their Jesse Winker, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. And I think that would take so much pressure off a guy like Aaron Judge and pressure off maybe a less experienced manager like DeRosa. And I just want to circle back. This actually really does start and end with DeRosa because he picks the team. The
Hmm.
manager is helping pick the team. And obviously, we would all pick Aaron Judge to get onto that field. But now, with maybe, I would go out on a limb and say there's probably going to be a coaching change. I'm pretty sure of it.
I think there should be.
Absolutely. The next manager who takes over this team, they have to really get to know these players. They cannot just sit there and say, this guy has such bravado. This guy has what it takes. And you hear that a lot from DeRosa when he breaks down film. And kid you not, DeRosa's awesome on MLB TV. I
Hmm.
actually really do like the way Mark DeRosa breaks down certain players' mechanics and stuff. Very smart man. But I think that's for him.
Yeah.
Managing the best of the best in a 10-day span, it's too much for him. Clearly, we saw it. I think they need a little bit more experience. They need a guy also too, like they need a guy that they can respect. You look at the Dominican dugout, you got a guy calling the shots who has 700 home runs. Who's challenging Albert Pujols in that dugout? No one. They need that in the American dugout.
No, and Albert Pujols is one of the most respected players in
Absolutely.
all of baseball. You look at him, you look at Yadier
I,
Molina in Puerto Rico, and look at what he got out of that team to come within like 2 inches of tying the game against Italy that could have put them in the semifinals. Like, that team fought. I was so like I'm not trying to be a homer for Team Puerto Rico, right? Because we're both, you have Puerto Rican descent in us, and like that team, the fact that they didn't lay down and they came back to within 2 runs is quite impressive to me, considering everything that team went through, the lineup that we did not get because of insurance, and just everything from the pool play and what happened there at home, which was awesome, to all the way trying to come back against Italy. And I was very impressed with that. You could even talk about Cervelli, in Italy and how they, got around him. Even look at Venezuela's manager in Lopez. He won in the
Mhm.
Caribbean series. He won for Puerto Rico in Santurce, and that's a big thing for them. Benny Gill too for
Miguel from
Mexico.
Mexico.
They won the whole Caribbean series. So
You make a good point. I love what you said about Cervelli because I feel like we've talked about this Pujols, Yadi, Cervelli. My favorite part about those three is that obviously two Hall of Famers. Where Cervelli, to me, Cervelli is a very good case study because Cervelli, what did Cervelli do, Anthony? And you said it. He went and got his buddy that knows him, who knows that if Cervelli's probably going to make a boo boo, regardless of where his descent is from, he probably has 10% Italian in him. It doesn't matter. Cervelli looked into the mirror and said, "Let me get my buddy Posada if he's available. I'm going to bring him onto this roster for 10 days. And if I need help, I know he will tell me the brutal, honest truth." And I believe that to be the case because they played together for a few years. And Posada does come across as a guy who'd probably be like, "You should probably do this. Maybe this is probably best." Okay. And Cervelli looks like a very easy going, very understandable, like he can coach you. That communication seems very calm and cool. You don't really get like with Cervelli this kind of phoniness. Like you kind of know what you're getting, right? And for him, I don't think he's ever made an all-star team or anything like that. I love that he had the self-awareness to surround himself with guys who's probably willing to tell him, "Hey, if you want to win this, you got to do A, B, C, and D." And what happened? They had their best ever performance in this tournament. They didn't make a single error. They were tremendous. They got
it was just
nobody's turning into
straight up
heroes.
vacuum that
And
that that
that whole
lineup.
defense.
Yeah,
And it
defense.
was clearly a sign of Francisco Cervelli, a defensive catcher, Jorge Posada, all great all around catcher, installing whatever they believed in to win this tournament into those players.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree with that. Shout out to the chat here. We got Mr. Name That Yank saying hello, Mr. Name That Met saying hello as well, and DeRosa is saying DeRosa is a yes man. Our national pastime saying what a wonderful finale that was, which I mean, none of us can disagree with that. Mets XVX saying less Judge and Harper, more PCA and Ernie Clement. Maybe you know what? Instead of just getting 100% stars,
Yep.
maybe you get those guys that are
Love it.
hungry for something more. Sometimes there are guys that are on teams that stink. Like you talked about it yesterday, Tovar in Colorado that's just languishing away. He had his moment in this tournament. PCA had a couple of his moments. Maybe you need to go younger for guys that are more hungry for this, that maybe are not going to get an opportunity to start in on other teams. So I look at that and maybe that's a route to go as well. J Diaz saying, so does that mean that the wrong person was chosen to be captain? Maybe they just shouldn't have had a captain right now. Like to name a captain, you really have had to gel with these players. Salvador catch it as a catcher and being the captain of Venezuela, you can see that, right? Same thing with Maldonado, who has so much experience, is on his way out in baseball. You can see that with him as well for Puerto Rico. But for Judge, he has to do more than this being his first time being on Team USA. Like maybe do 2 or 3 of these, like Carlos Beltran did. Maybe like at the end, maybe you become captain, but not right off the bat. It just feels forced because he's the captain of the New York Yankees. Like if they named somebody else captain, right, on the team, how many people would have complained like, "Oh, why didn't you pick the captain of the New York Yankees, the most storied franchise in all of baseball?" So it's just a weird situation to name captain. Like Steve Cohen's never going to name a captain of the Mets now. Like I think we're all okay with it. So to not name a captain for Team USA, I think would have been fine as well. And now the talk is going to be throughout this entire season is, can Aaron Judge come through in big moments? And he had a big moment against Italy where he could have tied the game, right, with a man on base, struck out.
Yep.
This game, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, one big one in the 8th inning as well. So I mean, the story,
Your
the
boy, Jose Budo.
oh man, just to see Jose Budo out there celebrate. I miss Jose Budo. I know a lot of people are not fans of him, but I loved him in that bullpen. So happy to see
I
him get
thought
to
of you. I was
celebrate.
like, that's Ant's guy.
Yeah, yeah, I love Jose Budo. But yeah, Aaron Judge, man, 3 strikeouts, like caught looking, swinging, like you name it,
There's
he had
people.
it.
There's people. Whether they're joking or not. There's people believing that he was looking for a walk at some times because maybe he was just trying to get into the rhythm of things. We don't know. We could only go by what we see, and I, I, I think, yeah, it'd probably be best. Look, I would love for him to come back and represent the United States. He'll be much older, right? So maybe the captain role can grow on him, right?
Mhm.
Maybe he's a better captain. Maybe he can learn from his mistakes or his lack of success. Regardless, right? Obviously, we've been told the captain thing is more of a like a rah rah thing for the fans and stuff. I think the one thing that matters the most if they ever want to really be successful in this tournament is that they have to. I think whoever's in charge, whoever's going to be the final say on things, they have to realize the world has caught up. The world is on an even playing field in this tournament. Obviously, we put them in, the Major League Baseball for 7 months. It'll be a different story. Obviously, we know that. But for 10 days, anybody can be the best country. It's clear.
Mhm.
We've seen it. And the United States have now folded in about 3 straight tournaments in this competition. We you know
Yeah.
we expect more. This is actually getting kind of like eye opening now. Who's to say that we have to name the United States as a favorite next time we have this tournament because we don't know if they're going to take it serious, right? But we know the Japanese are going to take it serious. We know the Caribbean players are going to take it serious, and there may be another dark horse. We look what Italy did. I mean, I called them the dark horse. Did not see that coming whatsoever. But
Yep.
there's going to be another team like that. There is. And you know what? Maybe it's us. Maybe the Dominicans, we know they're coming back regardless. But I I love what one of the comments said. Like, obviously, I don't know about the less judge, more Harper, but I know what they're trying to instill by saying more PCA, more Ernie Clement. I love that comment because as a critic of PCA, I thought he had a great tournament and he
Mhm.
looked like he took it serious. And this is coming from a player who's been criticized for probably doing too much or being a little flashy or whatever. I thought he handled it extremely well. He's played on the American team when he was coming up through the ranks as a young and up and coming prospect and stuff like that. I loved what I saw from PCA. I saw a totally different player. Like, he didn't look like he was full of himself. He was probably swinging for the fences too much, but you know what? He's hitting ninth, and the team isn't doing anything. He tried to spark the team multiple times. He played great defense. I understand what that comment means because you kind of want to see guys who, like, he didn't care who was batting ninth. We want to see guys fight for it no matter what. And it just like what. Look, I love Byron Buxton. I have said so many great things about Byron
I think
Buxton.
you wanted to trade for him.
I want. And I know he gets hurt, and I can still defend why he's still a good player. Why did he come? He didn't need to come? He didn't need to come. We had a catcher who did incredible things, in Major League Baseball last year. I think he took this tournament too serious, where it got a little bit out of hand. Maybe this is not the
Mhm.
proper setting for a person like that. So whoever is in charge, they need to really get to know these players, who can mesh with who will understand that this is still a sport. We're not at war. We saw that comment throughout social media. Some of these players need to understand that it's okay to have fun and still take this serious.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, it starts with DeRosa and whoever is going to be the manager, if it's him or not. You really have to this is something that probably has to be done. I'm gonna say maybe 2 or 3 years in advance, where
Correct.
you get your
100%.
manager and then he starts going through film. He starts looking at each player, even the stars, and saying, I don't know if this is the right fit for this team, even though this guy may be a superstar. I
Bingo.
need something different. Maybe I need someone that's hungry, that doesn't have an opportunity, that won't get this opportunity again. Maybe I need that player because in a 10-day span, that guy may be Superman.
Yep.
So
I
maybe
love what
that's
you just
something
said.
that happens.
I
That's
love that. I love it.
and in the next iteration of what we do here, because I've enjoyed doing this with you. Like maybe we play GM and maybe
Yeah.
we start building some of these teams and
Mhm.
look at what way can the United States come back to being a champion again, or how does Japan reclaim their title, or how can Puerto Rico survive without maybe not having Lindor, and Edwin Diaz is going to be a whole lot older. He's not going to be the superstar closer in 4 or 5 years. So maybe that's something that we look into, and that's something that guys like Mark DeRosa, Albert Pujols. I'm even going to throw Carlos Beltran in there because the fact that I don't know if we discussed this, but Jack Caglione, who's of Puerto Rican descent as well as Italian, wanted to play for Team Puerto Rico.
Yep.
Was not reached out to first, got to Italy first, and decided to go with them. And by the time Beltran reached out to him, it was too late. He already committed. Like, that cannot happen. Like, you cannot let that happen. You got to have these players. This is the list of players I want to talk to, and let's see if we could get them on board and get these teams set up and ready to go.
I love everything you said. I truly think that is exactly what whoever the next man in charge is. I think step number one is they have to relieve DeRosa of their duties. I think it would be almost sacrilegious to bring him back after what just happened. And this is probably the best thing for Mark DeRosa. Look, he gave it a shot. He's been the manager for some time. It's not like he just became manager. I think they need a new voice. I think they need a new set of like a brain trust, right? And I agree with what you said about they don't need every single position to be the very best. Like Bryce Terang is a great player. I love it. But, you don't need like I get like it's easy to sit there and say, oh, well, they brought in a Paul Goldschmidt. Well, that could have been if Paul Goldschmidt he played this much. You know what that could have meant for like a Nick Kurtz to play this much and to say, you know what? The next time I'm here, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again. A player like that, a Michael Bush for the Cubs, right? Like players like that. Nico Horner, one of the better defenders in baseball, like a guy like that who they just play the game the right way. This is not an indictment on anybody on that team. I'm pretty sure that entire roster plays the game the right way. But like you said, for that 10-day span, you need a spark. You need guys who can bring you something. It cannot be, it's going to happen because we're here. That mentality is going to get defeated every single time because like the Venezuelans, the Dominicans, they know they're good. They are aware. There's proof in the past tournaments that the United States is not dominant in this field. So why should anybody be scared of you?
Yeah, and the one thing that the U.S. can hold their hand on, not to be so negative on them, that just big positive, is the pitching staff. They pitched great, man. They were really good pitching. Like even with Nolan McLean, we saw the bullpen. Mason Miller, you said, had over 10 strikeouts. David Bednar in and out of trouble. Even Whitlock was good before that final inning there. So they have the pitching locked down. If they could get Tariq Skubal to pitch another game, Paul Skeens was pitched well. Your guy stole the show. Logan Webb stole the show for me. And if the USA would have won, he probably would have been my MVP of the tournament. I really like the way he pitched, and I think that was a big get for Team USA. It's the offense. The offense struggled. You can destroy Brazil, you can destroy Great Britain, and teams like that, but you put up almost an offer against Italy until the late innings. You struggle against Canada. Like you're starting to get to the quarterfinals, and now you're not scoring as many runs, and it's getting a little harder and harder. 2 hits, it's not good in the finals. Like especially against Eduardo Rodriguez. You mentioned Michael Lorenzen. Like you have to. You have a superstar team on your hands. You can't be doing that offensively against these guys.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like I've been thinking for since the weekend, like who would be a proper replacement for DeRosa? You hear Buck Showalter, you hear like a lot of names of that ilk. I actually don't think those names will work. I actually think they need something that's more relatable to the players in 3-4 years, right? So maybe they don't know for a while, what they're gonna do with that position. I think that person has to be available, right? They have to have a free schedule. They have to commit to this for the next 4 years. And that is a ask, right? Like that establishment has to really, really begin like yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's hard. I wouldn't be shocked if some time goes before we find out that United States has decided to move on from DeRozan. We don't know what's going to happen, right? But again, like, I wouldn't be shocked if this team can truly reinvent themselves, comes back and shock everybody and do what they got to do. But it is going to take development. We don't know what to expect from the other countries as well. I do think that, this wait period now, like you mentioned at the top of the show, going from 3 to 4 years changes a lot. We don't know what the lockout is going to bring. So I think there's a long road. We can probably pick apart what we would want on this team, but we need to make sure guys are healthy. Like, what is Paul Skeens going to be in 4 years? We would hope he's still the best pitcher in baseball, but we all know what pitchers are in this league, right? 1 minute they're on top of the world, and the next minute, Matt Harvey can't. He doesn't pitch for a few years. Matt Harvey was the talk of the town.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, he's barely finding, teams to latch onto. So it's a tough gig. I actually do not envy whoever is in charge. I think this is, as much as we can criticize Mark DeRosa, and I think he's earned the criticism, I think this is a very difficult job. I think it's a lot more understanding for a manager to probably struggle with a 500 ball club that doesn't have a high payroll, right? You can see where their strengths are and everything like that. But like, to prepare to put together personalities for a 10, 12-day window and make sure that you are as close to perfect as possible before these players have actually got on the field for maybe taking 4 months off. A lot of them are rusty, is incredibly difficult. What I ask, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very locked in. I'm with you. I'm gonna probably keep more of a closer eye to international baseball now and see who kind of moves up the ranks and stuff. You start paying attention to names that you never heard of now. Because now I think we've mentioned it with the Puerto Ricans. We expect that there's probably going to be a huge influx with youth. We're going to move off some of these elder players, like Eddie Rosario shouldn't come back, right? But for the Americans, it's almost at a point where everything is going to change now. I think Judge probably could come back, but we don't know, right? Like Gunnar Henderson should come back, but we don't know, right? So I think this is quite the story to keep an eye on, honestly, moving forward for American baseball.
Yeah, and you're not getting a major league manager at this moment in time that's on a roster right now, right? Because look at all the work that needs to be done. We're talking about looking 3 years in advance and trying to put this team together. Doing that while trying to manage a major league baseball team is not ideal. So you're going to get the retired managers. You're going to get the player managers like Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina, and that's going to be there. Or you're even going to get guys that, are managing in the winter leagues, right? Like those are the guys you're going to get. A guy like Buck Showalter, to me, doesn't fit this type of team. He fits like, let's give him Chechnya and see what he can do with them.
Right.
Maybe he
exactly.
who was it? Dusty Baker got Nicaragua. They didn't win, but they sure as heck played hard.
They played hard. Yep.
They don't play hard if Dusty Baker's not the manager. I'm sorry. Like they were in games against Dominican Republic for 7 innings. Like you don't do that against a superstar all-star lineup and great pitching staff. They were in games, man. Like that doesn't happen.
And we've said this is something we're not even bringing up. We don't even know what that insurance situation is going to be for the next tournament.
Yeah.
That could completely turn things upside down. I am certain that is going to be a talking point during the CBA and everything like that. So we truly don't even know. It could actually go in the opposite way where it's going to be even more strict, right?
Yep.
Because if new parameters are going to be met for a collective bargaining agreement, it's who's to say these insurance restrictions don't get more tighter,
Absolutely. Shout out to the chat in here. Mr. Name That Met saying, but I'm told the way to a World Series is to build it with all of the best. I mean,
that's a World Series though.
Yep. It's a little bit just different when you're building a team basically 2 to 3 years. And it's for a 10-day 2-week tournament. It's a lot different.
And the second you're out of pool play, it's knockout games. I mean, you have best of 7 in the playoffs, right? Or best of 5, whatever. Like that's also something that I think we're not used to, right? Like we got another game to go. We're gonna go back home, right? Like that mindset that we have in baseball. This is you got to play now, and it's over. Like we you know, real quick, when we lost to Canada, me and you in private were pissed
Mm-hmm.
because now we don't know what our future holds because we don't know what the seeding is going to look like. So we're over here actively rooting for Cuba, and we're wondering, you know, like that's not how it's done in baseball. Like we got 2 more weeks. Oh, the second half. Oh, we could play game 6 at home. Like that's the mindset, and it also could be why we struggle at this because the sense of urgency sometimes is not there. And in this tournament, it is significantly there. You see the Latin countries, every base hit, these guys are trying to get doubles when they hitting singles. And I saw tons of it in this tournament. It was pretty awesome to see, but we didn't do that, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, you had Chinese Taipei after a win crying, where all they have to do is get one less run from Australia or Japan, and they're into the second round. Like that, it's crazy how in depth that the rules of this tournament just like transform the game. It makes it more of a fun game. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, Major League Baseball should take a look at some of this stuff. You know, they implement all these different things. Like you want guys to stay healthy. I think we even talked about this about the mercy rule. I mean, I don't think that would bother anybody. Like you want to sit through 2 extra innings of a 19-0 game. I mean,
And risk an injury or have a backup player throwing lollipops. Like honestly, like it's fun for like 5 minutes, and then you look at it like we could have wrapped this up. Like we could have just moved on. I think it's something that I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I think it'll change baseball for the better.
JD in the chat saying Daniel Murphy for USA manager. That's something that would be interesting to see happen here. I mean,
He might be our manager though in 3-4 years, so we don't know.
manager of the New York Mets. Shout out to Jonathan in the chat as well. He says, I totally agree with you, Keith. Mark DeRosa needs to go. He managed very poorly. His bullpen management and the lineup as well. I mean, I did agree with him not playing Kyle Rowley and going with Will Smith, who's playoff experience, has had big clutch hits. So that move I pretty much liked. But, Gunnar Henderson, I mean, he was one of your better offensive players the whole entire tournament, and he's sitting in the finals.
And this is where Mark DeRosa frustrated a lot of fans like myself. When people were asking him early in the tournament, who do you play? He's like, oh, we'll go with the hot hand. Gunnar Henderson was the hot hand. He sits him. What? It just felt like he just didn't. He really didn't know what he was truly doing from day in and day out. And I think there's a lot. This is again, like you know what you're doing when you take the job, but there is insane pressure. I do not feel sorry for him, but I do understand how that pressure can crack someone. And I think you could go into that knowing what you're going to do, A, B, C, or D, until you are sitting in that chair with that uniform that says United States of America. That pressure is something that we don't know what it feels like. So I got to give DeRosa a lot of credit. He wanted the job. It's something he's many times expressed that he loves it, but we haven't had the results we need as a country. This country truly pumps out some of the best talent on the planet. There's no reason why we're not at least, like saying that for most of this game yesterday, we were losing, like we were waiting for something to happen. And
Yeah.
That's just not good enough for the United States of America.
Well, I'll even bring up the graphic one more time. We've had it throughout the entire tournament. Just look at how these teams were built. Look at the United States. All 30 of their players are Major League Baseball players. The only team that's like that. And then you look at a lot of these other teams where they have amateur, international. Some of them are straight out of college. Some of them are in the minor leagues. But Team USA, right there, all 30 players, Major League Baseball players. So, really no excuse to not win it all at this point, as they were heavily favored since the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah. I wonder if like in a few years we're in a place now with the sport where maybe like we can kind of have players be a year or two come out and say, I'm like, I want to play for this team and make it what we know ahead of time, or like talk about, I want to win a World Series and I want to stay in shape because we got the WBC and we got to handle business there. Like, I would love to start seeing that sort of attitude kind of like sort of change. Like, I'm not saying they need to do this, but it'd be nice if naturally it comes to these players like, hey, I can't wait to win the World Series with the Mets or whatever. And then, I can't wait to tell everybody about it. And then I could be a WBC champion. Like, I
It
would
was
love to
basically
hear.
Skeens.
Yeah,
Skeens was the one that spearheaded that.
that is a great point. I totally forgot to say it. Paul Skeens took that loss yesterday. Like, he lost in the playoffs with the Pirates. And I did not feel that energy from a lot of those players. Paul Skeens, shout out to him. I know we play him in about 10 days. I grew more of became more of a Paul Skeens fan from watching him be pissed off that he wasn't involved in that game yesterday, because it looked like you needed to like really talk him out of like warming up because he just wanted to make sure he won. That's the to me, that's the passion that we need. He has it. He has it.
Yeah, ever since day one when he announced, like whether putting up pictures of him in the amateurs playing for Team USA, his family, military, all of that stuff, he was from day one, probably, if you wanted to name a captain, that's the captain of the team, because that's what represented what Team USA needed.
Valid.
Shout out to Blade Solar saying Joe McEwing for manager. He did come through my head, so you must have been reading my mind. I don't know, how old Joe McEwing is, but I know he has manager experience in the minors. Maybe that's something that happens, whether it's for Team USA or some other team. So we will see what they do with him. But let's wrap up this tournament. Like, your final thoughts on just the tournament as a whole. I really enjoyed it. Not only just watching all of these games, but like the intensity of every player, everything was just up a notch, just what you need to get you ready for, the Major League Baseball season that starts next week. And, just everything just was done so well, I thought, from top to bottom.
Yeah, it was the best WBC tournament we've had to date. Before I get into like just the memories and just things that stood out to me, again, congratulations to the Venezuelan.
Yeah.
Long overdue. A great talent pool of baseball players. Salvador Perez saying, "Now I can retire happy." Like, and
he's got his ring, right?
Yeah, and he got a ring. Now he can say he won the WBC. I really am happy for a guy like Salvador Perez. Hopefully a few more really good years, and maybe he could have borderline Hall of Fame talk. So that was a really cool moment to see. And I think that, generally you hear about Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. It's time to start talking about Venezuelans. The Venezuelans have a really good pool, especially in Major League Baseball. It was really, really a delight to see the fans show up in Miami. As we know, that park tends to be quite of a library when we're there. There's more Met fans than anything, but it's nice to see just people show up and support the sport that we love to talk about. So that's another thing. I love seeing a lot of the teams in defeat come out and salute the crowd of their fans. I think that's actually something I wish we saw more in Major League Baseball. I think that's just a beautiful moment.
I need that after every elimination.
Like in the playoffs, I think that's dope. I know it's hard, especially with so much money because at stake, and Major League Baseball has tons of money involved. But like, it's
get booed too, right? Like, our fans are not being like, "Hey, we lost."
We're really hard on them too. Like, we're really hard on baseball players. So I get it. And be honest with you, like, the best part about this truly was, I'm not saying this because I'm here with you, but it was with you, like, constantly, like, we really paid attention to teams that I don't think I would have paid attention to in the past. I love what I saw from the Australian team. We stood up watching the Czech Republic, like, and now I'm gonna remember that, right? And now, we paid attention to Panama baseball. We paid it, like, now we spoke about so many up and coming prospects that played in this tournament that are probably going to kick the Mets ass for the next few years, like Owen Casey and stuff like that. So it's pretty funny. We found out about Livon Moniello, who's going to be probably transitioning to Major League Baseball. Like, that's the beauty about this tournament. And then, like, just final thoughts was, it was really nice to see everybody just truly, like, just come together for the sport. There was some negative parts because there's always a bad apple here and there, whatever. And obviously coaches and players probably didn't live up to certain expectations. But to see the world, it felt they dominated the ratings with the Oscars. The Oscars did it. There was a big issue going on with that. Baseball took over for about a 10-day period. And there's still, I believe there's hockey still going on. There's the NBA still going on. Yeah. There's college basketball, March Madness. And the world was talking about Major League Baseball. So I know for a fact that there's still a lot of juice left in this sport. And for 10 days, it was the best talking, subject in all sports. And probably I've seen it on the news. Eyewitness news, people talking about Team America. Yada, yada, yada. So I hope that they can build off this. I hope they improve off this. And I hope that, during the year, we can be like, oh, this guy can be a candidate for the next WBC team. Like, I hope it's a continuous topic that we can, we don't want to forget about the WBC until 4 years from now. Like, I do want to kind of periodically talk about it because it's important.
Well, one thing, and I was thinking about this of like how to just grow this even more. It'll never be as great as the World Cup is to the world, right? Like that is beyond, any comprehension of how good the World Cup of soccer is to the entire world. May not be to the United States, but like you watch these teams and how much they care about that tournament. I really would love for whoever's in charge of the WBC to look at the World Cup when it comes here. It's this year, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want them to really pay attention to that and how, the inner workings of how that works, because they really built WBC this year as a world sport. I think it really did well across the world, bringing fans together. Where Japan is hanging out with the Dominican Republic, and like all these fans just hanging out and having a good time. No hate, no fighting with each other in the stands. It was just a labor of love for each and every team and fan base that came across. And look, you want to keep this thing going. What about exhibition games? Like, if Team USA goes to Japan instead of doing like the World Series team that goes over to Japan? I mean, they used to do that. I remember a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Why not have Team USA go to Australia, or have
Italy.
Japan come here and play an exhibition game, maybe against one of the major league teams or something like that. Have that be exhibition throughout the years, and have these teams come across. Maybe you don't have the full all-star team, but you have most of these guys come and play around and keep that thing going. The other thing is, am I wrong saying that I think that trophy is 10 times better than the World Series trophy?
Yeah, the World Series trophy needs a revamp. I love it, but it needs a revamp. It's certainly that World Baseball Classic trophy is insane. It reminds me of the Stanley Cup a little bit.
I love that thing.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
beautiful.
That little chunk of change that the World Series trophy we have. I don't know. They definitely have to.
Well, the best part, like for me, I know this got criticism. I understand, but the players got medals and a trophy. Like you make it feel bigger. Like I know Kyle Schwarber took off this trophy, whatever, but for the winners, like it just see them biting on the, like that. That's cool. Like that's cool. That meant a lot. Like I'm pretty sure. Like we're gonna see videos of Venezuela like welcoming some of the guys who weren't like major leaguers back home and stuff like that. That's what it's all for, honestly. And it's a beautiful moment. And again, like they do have to build off this. Like it was a huge success. I agree with you totally. They have to.
Some of the memories that I take away is definitely, outside of Japan, which we knew that was going to run the table. Pool C was so much fun, man.
Oh my god,
that was so much fun, between Australia, Chechnya, Chinese Taipei, and Korea. That was a lot of fun. You go to Pool A in Puerto Rico, and like them getting the tournament for the first time since 2013, the atmosphere, and then Daria Harnies getting the game-winning home run that like sent things crazy in Puerto Rico. That's something I'll never forget. Team Italy and their run,
the espresso,
that Chechnya pitcher, Andre Satoria pitching the electrician pitching his last game, a shutout against Japan. So those are just some memories I'll take away. And obviously the quarterfinals on like that it was as advertised, and I enjoyed it so much. Just a couple of comments before we wrap up here. Our guy Jay McCrory here saying Mark DeRosa playing a puppet to the Padres with the Mason Miller comment really pissed him off. I just don't like it's hard. Like, are the Padres being like, all right, he pitched for you twice, 2 games in a row, like you can use him, but we would rather you not. Like
I feel for I look, I can criticize DeRosa for a lot of things. I can't for that, because if the team that's paying him all that money and invested in him, traded for him, if they're worried about workload, I mean, what is Mark DeRosa supposed to do, right? If anything, Mark DeRosa, didn't have a problem with the pitching. He had a problem with like decisions with lineup choices.
Yeah.
I think if anything, he hit a home run when it came to what he did with the pitching staff. But that's baseball, right? They're gonna always remember that one moment, right? And it's just unfortunate. But yeah, man, it is what it is. Monday morning quarterback is usually the case here with
Yep.
managerial decisions, unfortunately.
Blade Solar with a couple of comments. He goes, I still don't understand why PR had insurance issues and other countries did not. It seems bizarre to me. There were other countries that have the same issue. It just wasn't to the extent, because it was like Francisco Lindor, Javi Baez,
Yeah.
and Carlos Correa, Jose Barrios. But I do like reading a little bit more into this and how the team was put together. I don't know if Puerto Rico is as innocent in all of this stuff as it may seem. I feel like they missed out on some things, maybe not to their knowledge too, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they're 100% out of the loop on what happened here. I just would like to see them, get focused on bringing in more of these players and getting this done
Amen.
early so that they are prepared and ready to go for something like this to happen again, because a lot of these guys are going to be a lot older.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they got bigger issues like
Yeah.
recruitment, and I by like we mentioned, in 4 years, Yadier Molina might be a major league manager. Who's coaching Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
Who's gonna fill those shoes, right? Like
Posada.
that, right? You would hope, right? But we don't know. Like, we genuinely don't know. I kind of hope and pray that there's a more of a public guideline that we can all understand, the way we understand like the Cohen tax, right?
Yeah.
About this insurance situation, because we were learning it on the fly, and it's still confusing.
Sean didn't know.
Yeah.
And Sean is like the,
WBC guru.
yeah,
You
he,
know?
he didn't know because there wasn't enough transparency. Bring us transparency and it'll be a whole lot better. He also goes on to say anything to promote the game is a good thing, which we both agree with. Do you guys think there will be an in-season tournament like the other sports? The game is changing and it seems the time is right for other ideas to move the game forward. I mean, I am in agreement with that. A lot of fans are going to hate it because, what if their players get hurt? Like I've talked about it, put the WBC during the All-Star break and get rid of the All-Star break. But I mean, then you got guys can get injured there and that's the whole season. So I don't know what the right way to go about it. Maybe it's a shorter tournament, right? Like the hockey did the Four Nations, which was just 4 teams throughout a span of a week. And they made it did very well. So maybe they do something like that. Maybe it's 6 to 8 teams. Maybe it's a quarterfinals on, and you figure it out that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I think you can make the case for guys being in better rhythm, in the middle of the year against a guy like a Lorenzen or Eduardo Rodriguez. It makes a lot of sense. I think this is a great opportunity when the CBA comes, that maybe there's a new clause in contracts that allows players once in their contract to play in a mid-season tournament like the WBC. And if they activate it for the next WBC, they can't do it until another contract is signed. They could do these things. Like, if I was a part of the Player Association and I wanted this tournament to mean something, that's something I would bring up. If you're signing a contract from 2026 forward and you want to negotiate a mid-season tournament clause where the team cannot block you from playing in it, negotiate it. Like, this is a perfect time to get creative. We're going to revamp Major League Baseball at the end of the season. This is the perfect time to get ahead of this stuff.
Absolutely. Mike Lewis saying they were doing games in Japan with MLB players versus Japanese teams. This is what I was talking about. Yeah. What happened to those games? I don't know. I don't know, but maybe this is a way that the WBC can utilize something like this. Maybe, maybe the Japanese All-Stars come to America and play Team USA, maybe something like that. Like I went to, it wasn't a World Cup year, but at the Meadowlands, they did USA versus Brazil exhibition game.
Sold out of it.
So yeah, do stuff like that, and you'll get. I mean, didn't they do Team Puerto Rico against DR at Citi Field?
Yep, and people were watching. I think when we have the All-Star break, right, and we do our traditional stuff, I would prefer me, and I won't be long-winded with this, start incorporating these players' nationalities into the All-Star break. Maybe if you want to have a special host nation, maybe have the home run derby, one Dominican, one Venezuelan, one Japanese, one Korean, and the winner of the home run derby gets a pool play home destination. That country gets,
Yeah.
do something like that. Maybe the Dominican, they get a guy who wins the home run derby and they finally get a home destination for the tournament and they earned it and it becomes a talking point and now people can look forward, etc., etc. These are progressive ideas we need. And I think it doesn't take away from what's going to happen in 10 days from today, which is the start of the regular season. But we are trying to take baseball and make it expand to a place it's never been before. Truly, it's never. And it's going to get there, but it has to have the right mindset, right? Looking forward, making sure these players are safe and making sure everyone can truly, truly enjoy the sport without, all this extra stuff getting involved, like insurance and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap up here, Keith, I just wanted to thank you for being a part of this whole journey doing WBC TV. Actually, let's give you the 100% credit. You came up with WBC TV. You came up with that name, and we went with
I
it.
know. It's the first thing that came to my mind. I thought, you know what? Let's just make it easy. Let's just call it that. It just stuck.
It stuck. It was a lot of fun, but we've been talking about doing something like this, I think, since late December.
Yeah.
And we both know we have a huge love for the WBC and the tournament, and it came out during a lot of these podcasts. So I appreciate you for being a part of this with me and doing this journey with me. And I can't wait for the next iteration for us to do this. I mean, sometimes, these podcasts, not to shout on the Mets, but sometimes these were a lot more fun than covering the Mets, man, because we get to do something different.
I agree. I could not agree more. It has been a delight to take a break from the Mets. And this is usually the time where we overanalyze things that truly don't matter. Shout out to Mike Tauchman. Good luck. Hope you make it. But I didn't even stress it, honestly. And, it's nice to know Carson Bench is good, but we didn't suffocate ourselves with it. And it was nice. And we got to learn about a different world of baseball. And it was actually very delightful. I want to thank you, my friend, personally, because I feel like this is a very good yin and yang. It's a very good energy. And I think that this is a really good beginning point, right? For not just us, maybe for other people can honestly sit there and say, yo, I want to know what's going on with this or that or this player and that player. I didn't know certain players of certain countries' descent. And this sport, I think there's such a ceiling to baseball that they are nowhere near. Mm-hmm. And I think people like us and people like Sean, and shout out to Yaku Cosmopolitan, that is real content. I'm not like tooting our own horns. I feel like, to me, this was so much more fulfilling than to focus on the 28th man with the Mets, because we all know it's going to probably be a revolving door. We get it. We understand that. That is a yearly thing. We can focus on that in about 5, 6, 7 days. We get it.
Who's going to be the taxi cab in the bullpen? Like
Richard Lovelady for the 1,000th time. We get it. We understand. But what we saw last night, Ezequiel Tovar should be traded. We should all understand Ezequiel Tovar should be a Yankee, or should be a Brave, he should be a whole bunch of things. Why is he on the Colorado Rockies with that talent? And then we're going to hear, he strikes out a lot, strikes out. Maybe because he's on the Rockies and he hates it there. Go get him. Somebody needs a shortstop. Kick a hit, kick a run, kick a play defense. Go get him.
I mean, Maikel Garcia, right? Like, Maikel Garcia had a coming out party in this tournament. Absolutely. Like, who knows where this launches him with his career in baseball. So learning about these players, learning about this tournament, learning the rules of this tournament, because I'll be honest with you, like, I don't know 100% every rule like Mark DeRosa, but learning about all of this to get us ready for the next tournament and the next iteration. And look, I don't know if this will be on Subway to Shea, because I envision something bigger with what we've done here. And, obviously the goal is to get out there, right? Like, like next time I want to be out there and covering this game.
Listen, once we know details and stuff like that, brother, clearly it's whoever wants to join, but me and Anthony will be there.
We will definitely be there. You mentioned them earlier. Sean Spradling, Yuri Kurosawa of Yaku Cosmopolitan, my guy Santos, the baseball aficionado. I had Brian Fonseca on here as well. Follow all of these guys. They like international baseball as well as much as we do, and these are great follows. They were great guests on the show, so make sure you give them a follow. Final couple comments here. Mike Lewis saying we need more of the baseball we've been enjoying the last 2 weeks. More of that, please. Amen. Yeah, amen to that. Blade Solar saying, gentlemen, I'm having a blast being here. I'm a Colombian American and would love to learn more about the players in the tournament. We're going to come back to you with more of that. I don't know when it's going to be. It might be after the baseball season's over, but maybe we cover the Caribbean series. Maybe we look at the Premier 12 that's going to launch. Obviously, the Olympics may be something that we launch into as well. So we'll definitely be covering a little bit more of that. And Mike Lewis says, I hope the Olympic baseball isn't watered down like I think it's going to be. I think it's like 6 teams.
That's it.
6 or 8 teams. So It's going to be a lot smaller, but maybe that makes the competition a little bit more tighter than it needs to be. Maybe the best you get the best out of those teams. But we're going to wrap it up here for WBC TV. Keith, what do you got coming up, my friend?
Well, we're back. If you love the Mets, Anthony is the good cop. I'm the bad cop. So listen, Anthony is going to tell you exactly how it is in a very beautiful and eloquent way, and that's why I love watching his stuff. If you want to hear somebody yell at Sean Manaea, you come talk to me. I'm going to still love them, but I'm going to just yell a lot, quite honestly. So I am probably going to do a little bit of a preview of the team sometime next week. I already kind of have it in the back of my mind. And I am going to be streaming games more often, more regularly. I kind of have a lot of things already laid out. So I feel like last year, personally, as a Met fan, I really hated watching the Mets because they were so bad. But I felt a little detached from the Mets at certain points.
Yeah.
And that was on me. So as a Met fan and as a creator, I guess, because I kind of hate the name content creator personally, I feel like I need to do a better job of understanding Carlos Mendoza, understanding David Stearns. I think I do, but in the middle of the game, the way I can understand the nuances from a pitcher and a catcher, I need to do better for the organization, because last year, maybe they didn't understand the team as well. So maybe we're all starting from, I feel like we were probably starting from a brand new zero, which is a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. We got, Bo Bichette, you got Marcus Semien. There's a lot of new here. So clean slate for everything, and we'll go from there. Check me out on Shea and Sons. Definitely next week, opening day, I'll be streaming, so check me out. You want to pop in, check me out on the stream. I know we get to listen to Gary keep the run, but if you want to pop in, give me 5 minutes, give me a like, retweet, that'd be awesome. If you want to see me on X talking about baseball mostly, kicking it with Keith, and I'm always talking with my guy, the Godfather, all right? Let's call it what it is. Mr. Subway to Shea, Anthony Rivera, all right? He deserves the flowers because I'm not here without him.
I appreciate that, man. The kind words is always appreciated. Look, you talk about Sean Manaea. The velocity is low, but he had 4 shutout innings, and I'm thinking to myself, do we have a Jamie Moyer on our hands? Like, is this guy going to be soft tossing like Jamie Moyer?
I was thinking, may he rest in peace, Pedro Feliciano.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Rubber arm, We nice little rubber arm right there.
Yeah, rest in peace, Perpetual Pedro. But you can follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me personally at Ant Rivera 86. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you want to listen to it. But if you want to be a part of the chat and conversation, like we were even doing here, you're doing that on YouTube. I will be on a break for this week. I will return Wednesday. That's the season preview. The night before opening day, we will have our season preview and talk about the final positions that are left, everything that you want to talk about. We'll get into that on our live stream. So for Anthony Rivera, for my guy, Keith, who made this incredible intro that we're going to play one more time, shout out to you for making that. But for WBC TV, we hope to see you in a couple of years with the next iteration of 2029, 2030. So shout out to everybody. Thanks for being a part of this. Have a good one.
I'm not gonna get tired of that tune.